Hi, this is Paula Wallace, and I chose to do my toxic pollution paper on the Waste Isolation Pilot Plant, which is a nuclear repository that is not far from my house. They had a radiological release and contamination of workers last year, and so I wanted to see what information was out about there. The WIP project is located 27.4 miles from my house, and that may seem pretty far, but actually the way the wind blows in New Mexico, if they have a radiological release, that could blow right to my house, and so it's kind of scary. And so when you think about what they're doing out there, I thought it was relatively safe, never really had a concern about it. But when this event happened last year, it raised a big flag with me. So this is the site, that's the above ground site where the sign is, and these are two diagrams that show the site underground. Now you see the air shafts where they do intake of air and exhaust of air. What they're not showing you here is the elevators, how they get the containers down to an underground. This page shows you the waste in transit to the WIP site. Those are the barrels that are on the right hand picture come in those left hand containers, and they are removed and stored. The one on the right is contact handled, which means, if you'll notice, those guys do not have any shielding on them. They do bring in waste that has to be shielded, that people have to be shielded, which is remote handled. I chose not to show that for this presentation, just for the sake of time. So what happened? The radiological release, there was 20 workers that were contaminated with radiation. 4 of my friends tested positive and had above normal fecal samples. The cause was a chemical reaction in a shipping container that came from Los Alamos National Labs. The container was improperly packed, and the contents of that container essentially created a bomb that was a slow cooking bomb that it took 3 months to actually blow. It happened on February the 14th, 2014, just almost a year ago. And it happened in WIP underground at this panel 7, room 7, and I'm going to show you some pictures of that. So you see here, this is panel 7, room 7, and they contact handled these containers in with those forklifts, and they drop them into these rooms. Now you'll notice that on the right hand side, that is an overview picture of the room while they were investigating. Okay, the picture on the left is when they bring waste in. I don't know that that's actually panel 7, room 7, but that's how they bring it into the rooms and just drop it in. Now, the picture on the right is room 7 when they were doing the investigation, and they were bringing in video recorders to video the event and cameras. So this picture right here is where the container actually exploded. You will see that this is waste drum number 68660, and that container exploded because it became essentially a slow cooking bomb, and it brought the temperature into the room to 1600 degrees, and thus there was a radiological release, and there were workers on site, and 20 workers were actually contaminated. One of the things that concerned me when I got to looking around on the EnviroMapper that our instructor gave us to use was that this event was not actually on that in EPA, which is the Environmental Protection Agency. It was not on their site. There was no information. So to me, that means, does the EPA see this as a non-event? And that worries me terribly, because there's talk in the paper, in the stuff that I've been reading, that they're going to fine Los Alamos National Labs $10 million. Well, that's a significant amount of money, and for this happening. And so if you have something that is that significant, then why isn't the EPA putting it on their website, this environmental mapper website? I just had truly, really long, concerns. The other thing that worried me about this is, what are the long-term results of this event? This waste site is the where they store the site is below the water table, and so is that release potentially gonna contaminate our water, and will other people be will their health be compromised because of that? What happens with those rooms is once they fill those rooms and they seal them, well, they say over 5 to 10 to 50 to 100 years that those rooms, that the salt bed is eventually going to collapse and entomb that radiation, those radiological containers, those containers that are full of radiation. And so I have a real concern about what's happening in the state of New Mexico. When WIPP was originally, the studies were all created for that, there was a technology in the oil and gas industry that wasn't even being used, or I don't even know if it had been thought of at that time, but it's called fracking. And hydraulic fracturing is actually where they're boring holes into the drilling sites around this area, and they're fracturing the rock bed to get to the shale oil that's there. And there's been earthquakes all over in drilling areas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, and Texas. There was one in Pecos, Texas, not too far from where we live here. And so, are earthquakes going to be an eventual threat to the to the waste isolation pilot plant? I think they possibly could. And so, although I really never found any results about the pollutants and what are the solutions that went with it, it really, I came away with more questions than answers. And so that's my presentation. I hope you learned a little bit about it. It is a significant event that happened in our nation, and I think it's something that we all need to be concerned about. You guys take care. I had a great semester, and it's nice taking classes with all of you.